Daily Telegram.
Hey, everybody. What's up, everybody?
Hi, Josh.
Am I alone? Oh, okay.
Hi.
There are people here. I thought so. I thought I heard people walking in the door. It is the 2018 football season, and this is the Temple Daily Telegram Sports Podcast, the first one of this new season. Last time we talked to everybody, it was 2017, December 2017, right before Rockdale took on Brock in the Class 3A Division I State Championship. And that turned out pretty well for everyone in Rockdale.
What a game.
Yeah, it didn't start off very good, but man, it turned out great in the end. 45-29, Tigers.
Unless you're Brock. Maybe
Yeah,
not so
well,
much. But,
sure.
You know.
The Eagles weren't necessarily very happy.
It ain't how you start, it's how you finish, Josh.
Yes. That's Greg Willie, by the way. I'm Josh Weaver. Daniel Zepeda. Marcus Hood has yet to say anything.
I love how you point to each of us.
Yes.
This is just audio.
Well, we're practicing for when we have a camera set up in here, and everyone
and we
can
can-
watch this nonsense.
and we can scare people
Yes.
out there, too.
But yes, here we are. It's a new season, and it starts with the game that's been going on for quite some time, a rivalry that dates back into the 1920s, Rogers and Academy. That is Thursday night or tonight, whichever way we want to talk about this.
Same way.
Yes. Daniel's going to be out there, so we'll talk a little bit about that. But I'm going to run down what we have coming up in Week 1. All the area teams mentioned: Academy and Rogers, that's at UMHB. Round Rock, Cedar Ridge at Temple. Number 4, Austin Westlake at Belton. Midlothian Heritage at Gatesville. Salado and Troy, that's another game at UMHB. That's Friday. These are all Friday. Academy Rogers is Thursday. Cameron Yo against Mejia at Alvarado. Neutral site there, but Mejia's going to be the home team. Whitney at Gerald. Rockdale at Giddings. Rio Vista at Bruceville Eddy. Holland at Moody, another fun one. Anderson Shiro at Rosebud Lot. Bartlett at Hubbard. Snook at Granger. Buckholtz at Penelope. Red Oak at Central Texas Christian, and Holy Trinity Catholic at Cedar Park Summit. Some good stuff.
Maybe you'll let us in on what that inside joke was.
I don't know. I
later
just,
on.
Okay. Penelope.
All right.
You know, we're in mid-season form,
Yeah,
Week 1. So
you know. Solid slate to open things up. Let's start, I guess, at the top. Temple, now 6A Temple, but playing a familiar opponent, non-district opponent in Round Rock, Cedar Ridge, and Greg. You got your notebook coming out in Thursday's edition of the Telegram. What'd you learn from both those teams this week?
Well, I think Temple has a lot of respect for Cedar Ridge, and they should, because, Temple's gone 0-2 against them the last 2 years. They've been good games, close games. Kind of the common denominator is Cedar Ridge has a really good defense, and they're really hard to score on. I mean, the difference this year might be, though, that Cedar Ridge only has one defensive starter back from a state semifinalist team. Got all the way, deep into December before Allen took him out. So the coach, Sam Robinson, there, he knows it'll be a work in progress defensively, although he likes the kids he has. It's just, only a few of them have been out there in key roles, during these playoff runs. But, Temple last year down at Cedar Ridge, still had a chance to win that game in the final 2 minutes, but kind of ran into a wall at the wrong time. But Cedar Ridge is just a very quality opponent. They're a bigger school than Temple. I think they have about 2,800 kids, so there's enough of a size difference there where, some advantage to Cedar Ridge, but Temple's taken on a lot of bigger teams and won. So I think from the Temple side, they had a pretty good scrimmage against College Station last week, but it was kind of a mixed bag like most scrimmages are. I mean, Temple didn't look great all the time, but probably the biggest revelation was Quentin Johnston, the junior wide receiver, 4 touchdown catches in that game from Jared Wiley. So Wiley looked good throwing the ball. I think he only made one mistake, a tip pass that went for an interception. Otherwise, he threw some really nice deep balls, and Johnston looks like he may be that next, great Temple wide receiver after Hextall and Johnson graduates. So anyway, this is a great opening game. I think first of 3 in a row at home for Temple, so they're going to have a lot of home cooking early in the season. And
that doesn't happen very often.
It doesn't.
In high school, it's
It
usually
doesn't.
one home, one away, alternate the whole season.
Yeah, well, Temple refused to go all the way to Monterrey, Mexico
Yeah.
this year.
I don't blame them.
They forced Universidad Autónoma de Nuevo León to come here to Estadio de Wildcat.
Yeah.
Oh, man, you got to say that 3
I
times.
was going to say the same thing, man.
So Temple will have 6 home games this year, and then the team from Mexico comes back again next year. So
Sure.
it's a nice nice little bonus for Temple fans, get an extra game.
Yeah. So good one over there at Wildcat Stadium. It'll be a good one at Tiger Field Friday night with Austin Westlake in town. Ranked number 4 in the preseason AP poll. It's a tough test for Belton and second-year head coach Sam Skidmore. But, it's week 1 and, anything can happen, especially in the opening game. Tigers are confident. Skidmore's been really high on the team's depth this year, all across the board, offensively and defensively. A lot of capable bodies he can throw out there at all the positions, and that's including quarterback as well. Connor Carruthers is back. He started 10 games last year after taking over in the third quarter of Belton's opener. Had a pretty solid season, kind of got tossed in there and did pretty well, helped the Tigers qualify for the playoffs for their 4th year in a row, which is actually a program record for the most consecutive playoff appearances, so they have a chance to break that this year. And then they also have Ruben Jimenez as a quarterback option. He'll also see some time at receiver, but really athletic kid. And I guess staying with the offense real quick, I'll try to glance over this. For our first-time listeners or something like that, or maybe for people who didn't read our preview sections that came out
Whoever
this
they
week.
are.
Yeah. I mean, we do have quite a following, you're right, so I'm sure this is all repetitive for
You people know who you are.
the thousands of folks who have heard this. But,
But for those who have not been graced by the words off of the
True. But at running back for Belton, they got 3 guys, Dean Blond-Monville, Marquez Aguilar, and DeMonte Smith. 3 very different running backs, but they all look very solid in the scrimmage.
Could you say that first name again? Just because
Dean
yes,
Blond-Monville.
Blond-Monville.
Yeah.
I thought that's what you
Yeah.
said, but I just wanted to hear you say it again.
Yeah, it's said how it looks. I don't. But Belton looked solid across the board in their scrimmage against Leander Vandegrift last Thursday. Defensively, Skidmore's pretty happy with the way the defensive line looks, which is 2 years in a row, actually. They got about 6 or 7 guys who are going to rotate in and out of there. Devin Martinez is one of the returners. They're getting one guy back, Octavius Davis, who was out all of his junior year, so they're really excited about him coming back at defensive end. Linebackers, they got 5 or 6 guys. The secondary returns 3 starters, Trey Berry and Devin Raper on the corners, and Jason Stevens at safety. So, Belton feels good about where they're at, but big time test in week 1 to actually find out, how much work's going to go into this season.
Like you said, anything can.
Yeah.
The sort of common bond here with the Temple and Belton openers, they're both at home against an opponent that went to the state semifinals last year in 6A.
Yeah.
You had Westlake go all the way before Cy-Fair knocked him out and went on to win the state championship by really hammering Midway, kind of surprisingly. And then you have Cedar Ridge, which went all the way till Allen took him out, but Allen takes most people out at all levels. So.
Yeah, I think it was a 14-6 Cy-Fair win over Westlake in that D2. But Temple and Belton, their district opponents, we'll obviously talk about that quite a bit.
Yeah, we're about
this
5
season.
weeks away from that game, October 5th.
I think it's week 6 or 7, something like that.
There's more time to build up to that game.
But 2 non-district games for both of those guys, and then it's right into District 12 6A. I don't know, just real quick on that. I mean, that district is stacked. I think there's probably a couple favorites, but it's going to be a grind for those 4 playoff spots.
It seemed like most people would probably favor Midway slightly over Temple.
Yeah.
And then kind of Belton, Harker Heights.
Everybody really.
Who knows about Copper's Cove with Jack Alvarez?
Yeah, Cove's kind of like really the wild card there. We don't know what they're going to do, coach. And
Waco also with Kwame Cavill taking
Right,
over as the
right.
head coach. There's a lot of coaches who haven't been in their spot very long. Right. I'm thinking, who's the most tenured coach now that Welch is? The Edwards guy at Harker Heights? I'm trying to
Jerry,
think. He's only been there, 4 years maybe?
Yeah.
So it's not like there's any long-term
I think
coaches. So.
Toby Foreman at Shoemaker, this is his second year now.
Of course, a guy like Alvarez has been a head coach for a long time, but he's new at Copper's Cove.
Right. Yeah, Cove didn't retain a lot of their coaches. Kind of new there. And
that was an interesting move, I thought, by him to just leave a good place like Ennis Cove higher classification by one classification, but usually once you're at a place like Ennis, you're maybe not looking to go somewhere else, but took the chance. Cove always has athletes. So.
Yeah. So it's going to be a fun 12-6A season for us to keep track of.
A lot of games.
Oh yeah.
A lot of games.
And I love it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
eight district games.
So you don't have to travel very far, and all the
Yeah.
schools kind of know each other already.
Yeah.
Longest road trip to cover a game is what, Midway or Waco ISD?
Yeah,
or
well, I'd say Cove probably.
Yeah, 30, 35
Yeah.
miles from Temple,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
So
And even non-district, I mean, Belton travels to Dragon Stadium,
Yeah, Round Rock is
Round
the other one,
Rock.
yeah.
And
another underrated thing, I know we're talking football here, but that's big for all sports.
Oh yeah.
Like
yeah.
your
Proximity.
Tuesday night volleyball match, your Friday night soccer game. I mean, that's going to be big for
Yeah.
like parents, kids.
right. Yeah, Jack Welch,
Yeah.
I remember one year talking to him when Cove was in that same district as Bryan. It's like, we don't mind it for football so much, but when you're like basketball teams and volleyball teams and stuff have to make that, that's a long trip from Coppers Cove to Bryan.
Bryan,
Yeah.
College Station, and then when it became two Bryan teams and two College
Right,
Station teams,
exactly.
now it was
Yeah.
even more
It's
hard
driving even
travel.
more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Back to football.
Yeah. Well,
Our mileage reimbursement checks are going to go down, though, sports riders. We're not going to have so many miles. Right? That's
we'll make up for
Yeah.
it even
Well,
somehow.
We'll figure something.
Yeah. Well, before we get too
Listen to press conference.
too far away from it, let's talk a little bit about Academy. First game in our area of the season, and Daniel's going to be out there. Second time in a row for Daniel to cover that game, right? You were out there last year.
I was out there last year. Greg joined me. We
Yeah.
had the luxury of seeing that game.
Two programs that have struggled recently. Academy coming off a 3-7 season. They have new head coach Paul Williams. Charlie Roten, second year at Rogers. The Eagles were 4-6 last year. Missed out on a playoff spot by basically a win. But two programs looking to turn things around, and this is a rivalry. And this is both these teams want this game. They almost need this game in a way too, even though it's just the first one.
No, definitely. You got brand new head coach Paul Williams.
What's the ante?
You got brand new head coach Paul Williams. He's not new to the rivalry. He spent the past 5 years there at Academy. He knows the rivalry. He called it one of the better Central Texas rivalries out there. Both sides take it very seriously. For me, it was a real treat because, this is just my second season here at Temple covering football. Getting to talk to both of these coaches, Williams and Roten, just kind of learning about the rivalry and seeing that it is a big deal to both of the unities. But more than anything, I think Rogers is the one that really wants to get off to a good start this year. Academy's won the past 4 meetings. And by a wide margin. Last year it was a real offensive showcase, 7-6 win last year. The difference being Rogers missed out on a 2-point conversion there in the third quarter. But before that, Academy really put it on to Rogers. Over the past 4 years, Academy has outscored Rogers, in fact, 94-6. So that's about as one-sided as you can get for the most part. So when I was talking to Roten, he really said, besides just the fact of, getting that feather in your cap, as he said, of beating Academy, it's just more about just getting off to a 1-0 season. The past 3 years, they've gotten off to an 0-1 season, and that, it doesn't sound like a big deal on paper. You just say, oh, you can bounce back the next year, but it's a big mentality thing. There's a big difference in getting that first win versus having to wait till week 2 and then maybe even week 3 to get that first win. So it does make a difference. But the real battle in this one, I believe, is going to come down to Academy's offense versus Rogers' defense. Academy under Williams, he's bringing in a more versatile offense. They're looking to pass the ball more. In the past few seasons, they've been real run heavy, which as their
Which fit their personnel basically.
yeah,
too.
pretty much. I mean, they haven't had much of a passing game or a whole lot of quarterback options, so it really did fit their personnel. But they're looking at going with a 2 quarterback system, a dual quarterback system, with junior Ryan White. He was the guy last year. Williams likes his experience. He likes his just his presence in the pocket. He's been there and done that. But also a sophomore by the name of Jerry Cephas. He's also kind of emerged in the over the summer and during summer camp. And really kind of shown that he's been technically sound, and above all, Williams really likes his ability to throw the deep ball. Academy's got some athletes that can pretty much just run a straight sprint, and if you lob it up there, they can go out there and get it. Some of those guys, Garrett Warden there at wide receiver, Coleman Berg at wide receiver. I mean, either one of those guys can put up big games. So if Academy can kind of get their new passing scheme in order and feel confident with that, they should be fine. And then on the other side of the ball, Rogers with their defense, Roten just really likes the fact that he feels they're very balanced on defense. They don't have an area that really just stands out over the rest. They're just very balanced. Their linebacker core, Ray Rodriguez, Logan Hare, Thomas Goodwin, John Hill, 4 linebackers there that are all capable of playing varsity ball. Then your secondary, Brady Cisneros, Jordan Riley, who also could see a lot of time at running back, but he's been mentioned there in the secondary. And then Roden said he's very excited about the defensive line. You've got 3 juniors there and 1 senior, Wesley Burden, Colton Benton, Evan Duskasil. I'm probably mispronouncing that, but Evan, you know who you are. And Troy Glasser. Those 4 guys really should be able to get after the quarterbacks and really make something happen. So again, I don't think we're going to see a 7-6 game. I think it's going to be a little more offense this year, hopefully, for my sake. But if not, it's still going to be a good game. And above all, it's just going to be if the Rogers defense can keep Academy's offense off the field long enough for their own offense to score. Roten stressed that immensely, that if they can't keep Academy's offense off the field, then it might turn into a long game. And again, he just really wants to get off to a 1-0 start, his second year with the reins, and hopefully he'll get it done. But it's going to be a good game overall. So we'll see what happens. It's a good way to start off the season.
Another thing is, Rogers historically has dominated this rivalry when you look at the all-time record, but it's been a while now since Rogers won this game. So that's got to be being mentioned around their field house and community, like, hey, it's about time we get back on the winning side of this thing. It sounds like they had a good chance to do it last year, like Daniel said. With Academy being first game under a new coach, they're going to be excited, but they also might be a little unsettled about what they want to do and execute if they got new schemes, new personnel. So this sounds like a good chance for Rogers to break the losing streak. But Academy does have a pretty good enrollment advantage over Rogers. I think they're about 50% bigger as a high school. So Rogers, it's a little bit of an uphill battle on that front, but it should be a good game because you can't really say one team's got a big advantage over the other.
And we could see that factor of the enrollment and the guys that came out onto the team this year play an early factor.
Right.
A lot of the players that I talked to, and Williams himself said that they've got more guys playing both ways this year that they would like. At the 3A level, it's not real common for everyone to, but you do have some players, and that can be expected. But there's a lot of guys, a lot of key guys that are going to be going both ways. So we'll. You could see that have an impact on week 1.
And it's still pretty hot right now.
It is. I can attest to that.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
Sounds like someone from California talking.
Yes. Well, anyone from anywhere would think this is too hot.
Hey,
you know what? I'm going to go stand outside in 105-degree weather plus like 95% humidity. Everyone ready? Come on.
Okay, spend the summer down in the Houston area.
Let's do it.
Again. This is terrible. Not terrible. Are the 3 preview sections that we put out Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday's Temple Data Telegram.
Hey, should we let them know which individual kids we had feature stories on?
You kind of already have done that by telling them that there are individuals.
All right.
So
let's start at the top. 6A.
Yes.
Temple senior safety Monto President Jr.
Yeah.
3rd-year starter with a proud family tradition at Temple.
It's a very popular name.
Josh, who do you got for Belton?
Belton. I talked to safety Jason Stevens. He started as a sophomore, all 11 games last year, led the team in interceptions. He's back and looking strong once again. And at the 4A level, I talked to Salato's Tate Harvey. He's going to be playing both ways this year for the Eagles, a little bit of running back and linebacker. He had a brother play there as well.
Is running back an important position in Salado right now?
Sort of.
I've heard it's kind of.
Sort of. Well, they don't even really. It's a tailback, a halfback, and a fullback.
Right.
So I kind of
interchangeable parts.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And speaking of Salado, just real quick, they replaced all 3 of their guys in the backfield and the quartord. So 4 from their 12 and 13.
Their 3 backs combined for what? Maybe
more
over
than 4,000
yards.
I got it here. It's those 3 guys: Trey Shepard, Kay DePoy, Aaron Trzynski. 4,338 yards, 54 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Look at Daniel with the stats ready to go.
I don't see
he wrote them down.
desk and do nothing.
Yeah.
But the beauty
Tate,
for Salado, as good as those guys were, if they find good athletes to pop into those same positions, those guys will produce those guys did, because that's how that offense is set up.
And those guys, it's Rook Brown at quarterback, Tate, one of the running back spots: Reed Vincent, Hunter Turk, and Connor Cook. So those guys are going to be tasked with doing their thing in that slot T offense that is fun to watch and makes for a quick game.
And it's fun for those linemen because they get to run block all night and not have to. They get to go forward instead of backpedaling.
Oh yeah, so, it's fast moving and all that stuff. So anyway, back to some of the features that we had.
Over in Gatesville, I talked to Zach Mueller. Basically, is kind of one of those two-way guys, but he and Coach Kyle Cooper said that he's going to pretty much be everywhere on the field. Play some wide receiver, play some running back, play defensive back, play some linebacker, even play a little quarterback. At times, may actually end up the season playing quarterback. He's just one of those kids that loves the game of football. He has the brains for it. I mean, you can tell he knows his football knowledge. It was just fun to talk to, an interesting kid, and obviously he's going to mean a lot for Gatesville. He's pretty much going to be the guy that determines how good of a season Gatesville will have.
And Gatesville had a strong start to the season last year, and they kind of hit a wall there.
And they did, and the same thing could happen this year just because of the district they're in. They're in that 5-team district that has 4 teams that are in and out state playoff teams: China Spring, Stephenville, Brownwood, Waco. There's no slouches there. So if you get out of that district, if you just survive and make the playoffs, you're playing the Fort Worth district in the first round. And except for Kennendale, pretty much none of those teams solid teams. It's just a matter of getting out of the district, and anything can happen.
And will you have any life left in you after you've been beat to a pulp week after week?
Exactly. I mean,
only one team's not going to make it, right?
Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing you look at. You're like, hey, it's great. It's a 5-team district. We got a great chance here. And then you look at those 5 teams like, maybe we don't have a great chance here. But
I mean, every week is that's just going to be just.
Yep. That sounds like a district that nobody's going to go undefeated through. Like, it seemed like everybody would slip up at least once, considering that caliber of competition.
Exactly. But
although La Vega's been pretty, they've been a machine lately.
They've had back-to-back undefeated regular seasons, I believe.
Yes.
So, but I think that was it for the 4A, 5A, 6A
tab. Yeah.
So we dropped down to the 3A level.
Oh man! All right, now we're talking Class 3A. So right off the bat, we've got a senior out of Academy, Brett Malden. He'll spend a little bit of time mainly at linebacker, but again, one of those guys who was really going to rely on to kind of play both ways, linebacker and some tight end receiver. He says he doesn't mind. He would prefer to be just on defense if he could. He really likes the physicality of the game, likes hitting people, but also he's a team player and he's willing to do whatever's necessary. So great guy to talk to. Really enjoys the game. Really made for a good.
All right, next up, Cameron Yo, Nico Vargas, junior running back, linebacker, very physical player. Probably the most unique thing about him, I mean, you got a lot of two-way players at 3A and under level, but this kid's really been a standout since his freshman year at both. He just got called up out of need, first at running back, did pretty well there, and then they needed a linebacker later that year. And I think Cameron went 10-4 that year, maybe got all the way to the regional final, state quarterfinal, and got knocked out by Malakoff.
On a late field goal in the rain.
Exactly. So Vargas, he's a very physical kid, not real tall, about 5'9", but he's 210 pounds, very solid kid. I talked to him in person. He looks like he lives in the weight room. He's a real strong kid. He'll be asked to do a lot this year for a Cameron team that is really determined to come back from a 4-7 season, which is just like crisis mode out in Cameron to go 4-7. They expect a lot more than that, and you can tell it's a motivated team. And Vargas will definitely lead the charge. He'll have to have a great season if they're to bounce back. So
it's been a while since they've come off a losing season like that.
Yes.
It'll be interesting to see how they respond.
When I read your article on Vargas, what surprised me the most was reading the word junior in there.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been covering. You and I have both been here a while, and it seems like Vargas has been on that team forever. But I don't know, just one of those names that just kind of sticks with you once you hear it.
He's probably the most experienced junior high school football player you'll find. He's a workhorse.
All right, and then to continue, I was out at Troy doing their season preview, but I also got to talk to a senior linebacker. So see if this sounds like your typical senior linebacker. This guy is 5'6", 145 pounds. So not your everyday linebacker size, even at the 3A level. But this guy can play. He's got a great knack for just being at the right place in the right time, and he really knows how to use his teammates. He said his main plan for every play is just if he can try to wrap up a guy and slow him down as much as he can, then he just waits for a couple of his other teammates to come in and, kind of finish the job. So he knows what he's about, knows how to be successful, and this year as a senior, really kind of trying to take those steps forward and becoming more of a leader. His junior year was his first season on varsity, but that season he did a lot of growing up, a lot of just maturity and just experience really helped him, and he's looking to kind of pass that down before his time at Troy is done.
And Troy team trying to get back to the playoffs after missing out. Another one of those teams that probably didn't meet their own expectations last season, and
in a pretty tough district.
It's always going to be a tough district.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Now, Franklin and McGregor moved out of that district for this year, so maybe there's a little more bright spot for your
Maynard,
academies. Maynard, New Tech, brand new program. They're kind of a wild card because Maynard has a lot of talent, but it's a brand new program. So they'll probably have some growing pain.
Ronnie Porter, head coach over at Troy, told me he did not lose a wink of sleep with Franklin and McGregor leaving.
Sure.
We got one more feature. Tim Waits is not here to tell you about it, so I guess we'll have to give you the Cliff Notes version. Rogers Jr., Heath Schiller.
Another guy who seems like he's kind of been around for a while.
I remember he played in that Rogers Academy game 2 years ago as I was about to say a true freshman. I guess in high school they're all true freshmen.
Well,
they couldn't redshirt him. So anyway, he just kind of looking to turn the tide in Rogers and get them back on the winning track from a quarterback spot, and looks like he'll do even more than that for him. Good size, 6'2", 200 going into his junior year. I mean, that's I'd like to see Ricky Guardiola from Troy try to bring down 200-pound Heath Schiller.
Yeah.
But so anyway, there's your Rogers feature,
there's team previews of all of our area teams, all sorts of other things to read. Schedules are in it. You can also look at this online. Go to tdtnews.com, and under the special sections tab, it'll I think it says 2018 football or something like that.
They're all there.
But just click on it, and you can scroll through the PDF versions of this and read all the stories.
You want to tell them about the cover stories real quick? Just a little brief description.
On the small school tab, the cover is I talked to a few area coaches just about what it kind of takes to not only build a program but to maintain it through its ups and downs. What they kind of like to implement as far as characteristics and things like that. I had a really good talk with Coach Mueller over at Rockdale, Coach Roten at Rogers, Coach Hare at Salado, Coach Williams at Academy, and Coach Brashear at Cameron Yo. All took time and spoke with me a little bit about what they do and all that goes into to running programs. And all of them actually had very similar answers. One of them being, it doesn't happen overnight, and that you need, continuity from basically the 6th grade all the way up to the 12th grade, running the same system over and over again. And then on the big school, Greg and I looked at the Temple and Belton rivalry once again, with them being district opponents for the first time in a while. Just kind of looked at that rivalry and what it's about now and what it was, back when and things like that.
And we have Belton trying to win this game for the first time since 2010.
Yeah.
Temple's won, is it 5 in a row?
Yeah, I think that's what
5 in a row. And one revelation I learned from a couple Temple players is that despite Temple's recent dominance of the series, Belton does most of the trash talking. Now, that's from them. I'm not saying that.
Yeah, possibly.
They said it.
Yeah.
We just report.
Temple says we play, and they said Belton talks, but I guess we'll settle it here in about 5 weeks. And the scoreboard talks the loudest, so it doesn't really matter what goes on in the game.
The last 2 games were close.
They were very close.
8 point.
In fact, Belton was in
7
control of both games for extended stretches.
Yeah.
Temple just kind of has done enough to win those games.
Yeah. So those previews are. I think you can still pick them up over here at the office if everyone would like. Yeah, we have the college and the NFL thing. We talked. Obviously, we have our UMHB season preview and feature on TJ Josie and Markeith Miller, 2 offensive weapons for the Crusaders. And we also caught up with a couple former area high school standouts and their
Taquan Graham from actually both
Temple this
Temple
year.
Wildcats. We've got kind of your big school guy, Taquan Graham, a sophomore defensive lineman at Texas, who's looking to break through into a big role. Who's now grown to, I think, 285 pounds, which is about 40 more than he played at Temple as a senior. And then you got Jeff Carr, explosive running back. He transferred from Oklahoma State, where he never really seemed to find enough of a role or playing time. He was on the field, but they couldn't, find that great role for him. Transferred to Division II Texas A&M Kingsville, where he's using his talents now on a smaller scale, but getting a bigger chance to show what he do.
Yeah. So whichever way you choose, please read those. We tried. Yeah, I mean, and just to wrap it up, I mean, if there are anything, for me, I'm excited to see what Holland could do. Last year they had an exciting historical season. We kind of glanced over Rockdale. I mean, they're the defending 3A Division I champions. They lost a lot of key players, so it'll be interesting to see what the Tigers do this year.
You think they're going to miss Lachlan and Crawford?
Well, possibly,
just a tad.
slightly. But I mean, it wasn't just them. I mean, it was defensively too. They had their two linebackers, J.R. Harris and Dylan David. I mean, they were just monsters. They had a couple of defensive linemen. Just across the board, they lost some good players. But Jeff Miller's been at this a long time, and
He knows what he's
and
doing.
that team has been good for a while now, and I'm sure they'll figure out a way. But that'll be interesting to watch as well.
Haven't they put in a new field out there?
It's being put in, yeah.
Being put in.
A new track,
Brand new.
field house, all that stuff out there. It's been a long time coming, I think, for them for
And
sure.
when you
but
win a state championship, you should get that stuff.
I think so. Yeah. But and then
only
we
fair.
and we mentioned Cameron Yo. I mean, what can they do after a 4-7 year? But I mean, those are kind of what I'm looking forward to, I guess.
Right.
I don't know if there's anything else that people have been looking forward to.
You pretty much covered everything. The only other one I'm going to kind of keep an eye on is Validity dropping down after making the playoffs. And they're for like the first time in 37 years, the playoffs last year, and now they dropped down.
So does that mean they have to wait another 30 years to get back
It
into
might.
the playoffs?
It might.
Absolutely not.
But they also lost a lot of key players. So.
Yeah. Bartlett and Granger have second-year coaches, so that first year you never know what's going to happen. Second year, let's see what goes on there. Salado coming off a great year. What can they do?
It's probably one of the best rebuilding jobs in the state
Oh,
that probably any
incredible.
coach has done is getting Salado from where they were.
And that's why I talked to Coach here. I mean, because
3
it kind of
years
seems
ago,
like
yeah.
he did that at Lago Vista
Lago Vista,
before,
yeah,
right?
for sure.
Colts has a new coach. Texas Christian trying to snap that playoff winning jinx.
Yeah.
All sorts of stuff.
A lot of good stuff. You
Yeah,
just
should be a good year. Should be a great year. Great memories.
Question is, do we have that one team in the area who's good enough to go all the way?
That is the big question.
We usually do. We
always
usually
do,
have
yeah.
somebody. Cameron, Rockdale, Temple's been in that game. They made it twice in 3 years. 4 straight long playoff runs. Can Temple do it in 6A?
Yeah.
Did it in 5A, but 6A is a different animal,
Yeah.
so we'll see.
The other question is, do we have enough people to cover this season? We hope so.
We are going to
Never
try.
But we need the coach's help. So please remember to have someone call in your stats as soon as possible every Friday night so we can get this stuff into the paper.
Phone number? 254-778-4444.
Yes.
Ask for sports.
Yes.
There we go.
Just hit sports. We
Yeah.
don't have that automated
Yeah.
system.
Check us out on Twitter also.
Yes.
Twitter, Facebook.
We're there. Find us.
Website.
Appreciate everyone listening in. I'm sure you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed speaking for the last 36 minutes. We'll talk to you next week.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.